Scribble Kibble is a show about animation. This episode explains the major differences in switching your animation program from Flash or Adobe Animate to Toon Boom. If you're starting out and wondering which program to learn, listening through this may give you the knowledge to make that choice. A lot of 2D studios are moving to Toon Boom, so if you plan to work at a studio, it's probably what you want to learn first. Many animators insist that you should switch to Toon Boom no matter what. However, there are things Adobe does better than Toon Boom, just like there are things that Toon Boom does better than Adobe. Pros and cons. So I'm going to start with the cons of using Toon Boom. First and biggest issue is it is expensive. For half the price of the full version, you can create animations that are just as complex, if not more so, by combining Flash with After Effects. And at that price, you get the entire Adobe Creative Cloud suite with drawing, video editing, and audio editing programs, whereas Toon Boom, all you can do is animate. Second issue, Toon Boom does not work well with other programs. Plan on doing all puppet building, animation, and camera work in Toon Boom. Pretty much expect to do everything art-wise in Toon Boom as much as possible. Any other workflow is frustrating, time-consuming, takes up lots of hard drive space, and sometimes simply doesn't work. 3. Toon Boom animations must be broken into scenes. It forces you to approach animation like a professional production with rough cut audio and a storyboard split into shots before you even animate anything. And unlike Flash, you can't simply click from scene to scene. You have to save, close, and open each scene individually. You have to export every finished scene, and to put them together in a final animation, you need a video editing program. Need. The only way to avoid this is by re-importing exported shots into a new Toon Boom scene, although nobody recommends doing that. As far as I've experienced, you have to update puppets manually. It's not simple copy, paste, and override like in Flash, which is really easy to do with multiple documents open at once. To change a Toon Boom puppet, you have to update the puppet piece and then drag it and drop it onto the old one in every single scene. 5. Big file sizes. Every shot in Toon Boom is as big as the entire project in Flash. So if your animation has 30 shots, the file size will be at least 30 times larger than Flash. Animating on a crappy laptop in Toon Boom is only going to work for beginner animators. Expect to get a desktop PC with hard drive space when your Toon Boom animations start to be a few minutes long. Last thing that's still an issue, even though a lot of people are using Toon Boom, is poor documentation. A lot less tutorials and resources, and the guides on Toon Boom's website assume you have the most expensive version. You're constantly getting tips on how to do things in a different version, so it's hard to know what you can and can't do between versions, and you become constantly frustrated that you can't afford the highest tier. All of that said, if you're coming over from Flash, there are some things you will find absolutely amazing about Toon Boom. First, it is a way better drawing program than Flash. Your art doesn't magically get better, but you'll suddenly find you don't have to redraw the lines that much. And you can animate in styles that would be difficult or impossible to do in Flash. Second pro, much better organization in Flash. Puppet animation is a lot less tedious because you don't need to click inside nests of symbols to do things. Drawings are linked, so in Flash, when you would normally copy the frame and have to color it again or change it again, in Toon Boom, you change one drawing and it updates everywhere else that piece of art appears. There's a cutter tool for cleaning up lines. There are coloring options that let you color entire sequences of animation all at once. Better onion skin controls. Overall, better animation environment. Third, each layer in Toon Boom has a separate line and color layer within it. You will never worry about coloring over your line art or lining over your colors ever again. Fourth, just a small thing, the color picker works on anything on your screen, even stuff outside of Toon Boom, and that's really useful. Number 5, the most expensive version of Toon Boom has deformer and mesh tools for animating puppets. If you're an Adobe user, you have to pull out After Effects to do that. And last pro, again, the most expensive version of Toon Boom has this thing called a node view, which gives you godlike powers for puppet rigging and compositing effects onto your animation. Those are the major pros and cons. I expect in the comments some people are saying Toon Boom has linked color swatches and a camera layer and an asset library, yada yada, but Flash has those as well. They don't count as uniquely great things in Toon Boom. Overall, if you plan to use the top level of Toon Boom, then it's worth it to switch. But if you can't afford that, then you actually get more art power out of Adobe Creative Cloud. If all you have is $25 to your name, then Toon Boom and Adobe Animate are pretty even on the playing field. It's a really tough call to make. If you're using Flash now, do you really want to relearn everything you know? Not even the shortcut keys are the same in Toon Boom. It's a frustrating and long transition, and I can't promise at the end of it you'll feel like you made the right decision. Some animators feel they did, and some ultimately switch back to Flash. Another thing to consider is that if you're an experienced Flash user who regularly incorporates After Effects, it's not worth it to switch to Toon Boom, if you don't have to for studio purposes, because you lose all of the power of After Effects. If you want to use After Effects with Toon Boom, you have to export a dot move with alpha channel for every single set of items you need separate for every single shot. When you're animating at 4K resolution, that's a stupid amount of hard drive space. It can be done, but it's lengthy and complicated compared to exporting an infinitely scalable vector SWF out of Flash, which you can do for every layer in a shot all at once via SWF Archive. Those are the major differences between Toon Boom and Flash. Both are great animation programs, and I recommend either. If you want tutorials on how to use either of these programs, I have a playlist of free tutorials below and a complete course class to learn Adobe Animate available on my website. I'll post a tutorial on how to use Toon Boom if you're switching from Flash on my YouTube channel soon, so stay tuned.